Without any further delay, I am Michael T. Smith. This is the Church of, and here is your message for the week of June 29, 2025. We're talking about the elements of a supernatural life. We ended last week with talking about the story of Joseph and the two things that Joseph learned. We came out of, we're in a step-by-step. Step number 10 was Joseph was ever in the process of discovering who he was and who he was becoming, remembering who he is truly, and also recognizing who he is becoming. And we said within that, there were two things Joseph learned. The first thing we ended off on is Joseph learned that there are people of the Spirit everywhere, that the jurisdiction of people that walk with God, that people that know God, they're out there everywhere, even in places, especially in places where you wouldn't think God is. Why wouldn't you think God is there? Because we get conditioned by our religious training that God is with some and in some. God is definitely not with others and in others. And when you open yourself up to a true life in the Spirit, you'll recognize what Joseph did. What did Joseph do? He's raised as this heir of Abraham, right? Abraham coming out of one idolatrous form of worship and stepping into a relationship, a true relationship with true religion, but still keeping some of that idolatry, those old ideologies, sacrifice, and all this other kind of stuff. Abraham is moving into the clarity of truer religion, and Joseph comes out of this, right? His grandpa's grandpa, Joseph comes out of this, but he's been told that the Egyptians, right, are not of God. They're not with us, and blah, blah, blah. But he gets out and very much finds, like his father, like his grandfather, like his great-grandfather, God is everywhere. God is talking to people. There are people out there that already have the same rules as Abraham. They already have the same morals as Abraham. So as he's stepping out of his idolatrous mind and carrying some of that old into the new, he's finding people out there are already in that same place. And Joseph does. Pharaoh has a dream, and Joseph recognizes, wait a minute, God spoke to you. Well, we worship two different gods, don't we? But really, Joseph recognizes it's the same God. How is the God that talks to me and the God that talks to this Egyptian king the same God? Because Joseph learned the jurisdiction of the Spirit is everywhere. So now moving on, and this will be number 13 in your notes, number 12 in your notes. And it goes like this, and I'll try to give it to you, feed it to you in your notes, but we'll start here. Great exploits in the Spirit. Right? Think of Daniel, right? They that know their God will do great exploits, right? So great exploits in the Spirit demand proclamation. Great exploits in the Spirit demand proclamation. If you want to be a spiritual person, live a spiritual life, a supernatural life, a person that knows God and flows with God, then the things you do they demand proclamation. They demand, look at what the Spirit did here. Look at what God did here. Great exploits in the Spirit demand proclamation, but hear this, but the focus of the story is never that of the trial that we've gone through. Great exploits in the Spirit demand proclamation. You got to say what God did, but the focus of the story should never be, well, here's the trial that I went through. Great exploits demand proclamation, which is what? When God does something in your marriage, when God does something in you bringing two people together, when God does something in your business, when you're trying to start something and get it going and you're running into this wall and running into this wall and that setback and who wouldn't do this and who wouldn't do that and who slammed the door in your face. And then you finally get to a person who says, I've been praying for somebody like you. I want to not only give you the lease, I want to give you the lease for less than I would give it to anybody else. Now we're in a great exploit. Something supernatural, something large has occurred, and that thing that happened, it deserves, you got to go out and you got to tell the story. Man, we got here and this guy opened and God moved him. He said he was going to lease to somebody else, but didn't have peace with it. I came along. He said, I don't even need an application, shook my hand and said, it's yours. And you just name your price and I'll do it. I got it for half off. What is that? That's an exploit in the Spirit that you're giving proclamation to. But the glory, right, goes to the proclamation of the spiritual exploit. It doesn't go to the trial. Did you get doors slammed in your face? Yes. Were people rude to you? Yes. Did the bank pull out on you and not back you in the finances? Yes. Did people lie to you, take your deposit money? Yes. But it's never a story of the bad that happened. It's a story of the exploit. We started out this series in Deuteronomy 8. with the children of Israel in the wilderness, and they had fiery serpents, and they had snakes and trials and fears and bread and scarceness and blah blah blah. But God was saying, I don't want you to go into your next season, your next place, glorifying, man, you should have seen those snakes. They were scary. I want you to talk about the miracle in it. You know, our shoes never wore out. You know, we never went a day without food. You know, when there was no water around, God brought water out of a rock. What he was saying, we're going to give proclamation to the supernatural things, not to the trial that we went to. In your notes, it's coming now into the feed. Though given its time, the elucidations. What do you mean by elucidations? Um, the us waxing on and on about what happened. Though given its time, the elucidations of our hardships are only and ever for context. Though given its time, you got to talk about the hardship. You got to give what you went through its time. You got to give what you went through in your last marriage its time. You got to give what you went through in your childhood its time. You got to give what you went through. I mean, if you're going to tell the story, you got to give the bad stuff the context. We were there. We were afraid. We didn't know where we were. We didn't have any water. We didn't have any food. We had all this gold, and we had no stores to spend it on. You got to give the context of what happened in the wilderness story. But the glory doesn't go to the negative context in the trial. The glory goes to, and then God did. I'll say it a time. Again, though given its time, the elucidations of our hardships, the droning on about our hardships, or the mention, even the mention, the explanation of the hardships, though given its time, the elucidation of our hardships are only and ever for context, not for glory. We get this twisted, right? We try to out sinner each other in church. Well, yeah, I killed 9 people. You killed 9 people. Those are rookie numbers. I killed 16 people. And I was a pervert. I was a super pervert. And not saying that you can't talk about what you went through. Not saying that you can't talk about it. My daddy was this. He beat me this, blah, blah, blah. But we're not trying to give people, we're not trying to put the emphasis on the wrong syllable. We're not trying to give people a reason to say, ooh, that's a scary thing. It's scary for context, but it's not scary to build us up as some having overcome some great thing. Why? Because the elucidations of the hardships are only and ever for context. Let me just give you context. I'm not trying to give you glory as though my plight was some great thing, because people come out of all sorts of things. I'm reminded of a story about a man in Nigeria. He said, there was a flood that came through down from the mountain and flooded his whole village, destroyed everyone in the village. Everybody perished in the flash flood, the mudslide. He and his family were the only ones that survived the great flood that destroyed the village. And he was a man of faith, and he went around telling everybody, I was about the flood that came and destroyed his village. Me and my family were the only ones survived. Every house destroyed. And he went around, and his testimony got out, and people started bringing him into churches. People started inviting him overseas. He went on all, 6 different continents testifying about his family in the village, and the flood destroyed every family, but his family was the only one that survived. And finally, after a number of years of sharing this testimony all over the world, the man slept in the Lord and got into heaven in the glory place, and was there and just enjoying the beauty and all these different things. And finally they said, oh man, it's a big thing. Testimony day is tomorrow. Testimony day is tomorrow. And the man was so excited. His testimony had blessed so many people on earth that he said, I got to be first in line. So he went to the angel. He said, let me be first. Let me be first. And the angel said, all right, let me get my pen. He said, what's your testimony? He said, well, I was the only person that survived. My village was flooded. Everybody died. All the families died. Me and my family were the only ones that survived. He said, oh, that's a great story. He says, unfortunately, I got you down as number 2. He says, number 2? He says, who's first? And the angel says, his name is Noah. What happened to him? He and his family were the only ones that survived a flood that destroyed the whole world. Now, we know that the flood that destroyed the whole world and all that punishment, we all know that that's not a literal true story of God's justness and punishment on the world. Don't put the emphasis on the wrong syllable. The point is, if you think you're going to glorify the trial, if you think you're going to glorify, I was abused, I was a whoremonger, I was in the streets, you're not telling the story right. The story is supposed to be of how God snatched the addiction from you. The story is supposed to be how God restored your soul. The story is supposed to be how God gave you relationship with your children that you never had with your father. The glory is not supposed to be the scoundrels and the menagerie of losers and lowlifes that you knew and that you were and all the bad things that you did. The story is, here's the context. This is where I was at, but I'm not trying to tell you how awful the situation was. I'm trying to tell you how powerful the great exploits of the Spirit are. I hope you're hearing me this. Now let's get back into this idea. The central testimony, here it comes. The central testimony that we offer, the central witness, the central testimony we offer is a tale of the workings of the Spirit and nothing else. The central testimony, or when I say witness, when we sit in the witness stand and we give testimony, the central testimony, the central witness we offer is a tale of the intricate workings of the Spirit and nothing else. How God brought this person from this place. They didn't even know why they were coming here. This person was hungry, wasn't even sure why they wanted a waffle. Came up there, went to get inside, but all the tables were blocked, so they had to sit outside. And the other person said, well, I had to sit outside because I was waiting on my ride, but my cell phone battery died. And I knew they couldn't text me, so I was dead. And how the intricate working of the Spirit got us here at the same place at the same time, and it was the exact thing that both of us were looking for. That's where we want to put the story, not, well, it was so hard and for so many years and all the things I had to do. I mean, sure, tell it for context, but the proclamation is God has done something great here. Now consider, we were talking about Deuteronomy 8 in the wilderness. In your notes, consider what? That all people at all times are in the wilderness. All people at all times are in the wilderness. We know there's the big wilderness called life. We're all in this. We come from a spirit place. We're heading to a spirit place. Every human, red, yellow, brown, black, white, Jew, Gentile, Muslim, Christian, whatever faith, no faith, atheist, agnostic, anti-theist, doesn't matter, LGBTQ. We're all, every human being, all of us at all times are in a wilderness. At minimum, at all times we're in the wilderness of life. And the wilderness of life has its trials. It has its dangers. It has its risk. Just being born, right? Just being a brand-born baby, just carrying a baby, getting pregnant, being in a relationship in this dangerous world, making it to the age of reproduction, making it even out of the womb, making it out of the hospital. I mean, this wilderness of life is filled with trials and earthquakes and north winds blow and south winds blow, typhoons, hurricanes. I mean, it's a dangerous place. We're all at all times in a wilderness. We're in the big wilderness. And all of us at all times are in a small wilderness. We're in the macro big wilderness. We're in the small micro wilderness. Some people are in a health wilderness. Some people are in a little health thing. Some people are in a big health thing. But there's the big, the health challenge is a derivative of the life wilderness. A financial challenge, a family challenge, a relationship challenge, a job challenge. All in these micro wildernesses. All of us at all times are in a wilderness. We've said that the foundation of walking in the Spirit is this, that no matter my season or circumstance, God is with me and it is well. Or we could say, God is with me no matter my circumstance or season, and it is well. Or we could say, it is well, for God is with me no matter the core revelation in the big wilderness. Man, life is tough. God is with me. Therefore, regardless of what life is doing, it is well. In the small wilderness, we got this financial thing. I'm facing my job. They're downsizing this and that. What am I going to, I got to go to the doctor. They want to do more tests. Man, that's scary. It is scary. It's a small wilderness within the big wilderness. These little wildernesses happen in this big wilderness called life. But where have we settled? God is with me. It is well, regardless of my season or circumstance. I was talking to my dad about this week, and I said, we were talking about why you keep repeating it. I said, because I want people to get it. And he was reminded me of my cousin Vinny when he says, the judge says, now, Mr. Gambini, the next words that come out of your mouth better be guilty or not guilty, or I'm going to hold you in contempt of court. And Joe Pesci takes a breath, and the judge says, I don't even want to hear you clear your throat. Now, how do your clients plead, guilty or not guilty? And Joe Pesci says, I think I understand. He says, no, Mr. Gambini, I don't think you do. Why do you keep saying it over and over? I got it. No, I don't think you do. This is something you need to drill on 100 times a day if necessary, once a day at minimum, 7 days a week. God is with me. It is well, regardless of my season or circumstance. That's my philosophy of the big wilderness. That's my philosophy of these little wildernesses that I come up against. And you say it over and over. Now, why? Why? Because consider in the Hebrew story, right? We're not reading a story about a literal God killing literal nations and destroying people and murdering people and bringing fire and plagues. That's not the story we're reading. We're reading a story about humans trying to incorporate their human experience, trying to incorporate the divine into their human experience. And these stories are not really stories. I mean, they are the stories of the Jewish people, but they're the mythology and the lore of the Jewish people, but they're not about the Jewish people. They're human stories. They're universal stories. And consider how many times in the Hebrew scriptures, in the Hebrew contribution to theology, consider how many times they're told over and over again, don't forget. God did all these miracles yesterday, and today you're saying, I think God has left us. How could you say that? You just saw this. Don't forget, you just had water come out of a rock. Yeah, but I don't think God is with us. Don't forget. So when you say, it is well, regardless of season or circumstance, God is with me, when you repeat it over and over, Pastor Mike, what are you trying to get us to do? I'm trying to do what God tried to do in the Hebrew scriptures. Stop forgetting what you've learned. Stop forgetting. The proclamation we're trying to do here is what God is doing, but we get so beat down by the battle of life, we lose our seating and we start forgetting that God is with us. We start forgetting that it is well. We start focusing more on the season and circumstance, and we lose sight of. And so, what do we talk about? This bill and that bill, and how they did me wrong, and my boss, and she's a liar. Boy's a liar. I mean, it's we do this all the time. And what are we doing? We're giving too much proclamation to the trial, and not enough proclamation to the machinations, the moving, the inner workings, the intricacies of what the Holy Spirit is doing in the middle of it. Why? Because we have a huge list of how bad we're being done wrong. We got a huge list of how bad we're being screwed over. We got that for days. You want to hear about my problems? I got it. But people of the Spirit, they can give you the context, but they never lose on their mind or on their mouth what God is actually doing. The Hebrews have given us a story, the Hebrew people, not a story of their own lives or their own people, but a story of the human experience. And so I give you this now that I want you to hold on to. What does your soul need most from you in this season? What does your soul need most from you in the big wilderness? What does your soul need most from you in the small wilderness? You dealing with something with your children? You dealing with something with your finances? You dealing with something in your marriage, your relationships? You dealing with something with your parents, your in-laws, your neighbors? You dealing with something in your health? You dealing with something in your ministry, your business? What are you dealing with? You dealing with an issue? What do you do? Whatever it is you're dealing with. What does your soul need from you most? That's the question. I'll tell you what your soul needs. It needs more than anything for you to acknowledge your miracles. It needs for you to acknowledge your miracles. I think of a few good men. Can I get the flight logs? What does Colonel Jessup say? I want you to ask me nicely. I'm sorry? I want you to ask me nicely. I'll give it to you, but I want you to extend me some respect. What does your soul need? It needs you to talk about your miracles. It needs you to acknowledge your miracles, right? What did Jules, right? He says, is this according to Hoyle, a miracle? I don't know, but I want you to acknowledge that what happened here is not just a coincidence. What? You can read it as a coincidence through the filter of your wilderness, but I also want you to stop just looking at it, well, I guess that happened, and stop saying, oh my God, look at this. That something good happened here, a miracle. What your soul needs most in the big trial, what your soul needs most in the small trial, is acknowledge your miracle. What do you mean by your miracle? You have this in your notes. All the ways, it's coming into your chat right now. All the ways the God witness, it's a lot of syllables there. All the ways the God witness within has shown itself without. What does God ask? What does your soul need in this trial? What do you need every day in life? Even when all the little areas of your life are dog-eat-dog, it's just, woo, things are popping, everything's going. What does your soul need? Acknowledge the miracle of how good things are in this complicated life. That's what your soul needs. What does your soul need when things are difficult? Maybe difficult across the board, rarely difficult across the board. Sometimes it's difficult in one area that it overshadows everything else, and you got to push that aside to see where it is. What does your soul need more than anything? Acknowledge the miracles. What are the miracles in your chat? All the ways the God witness within is showing itself without. I'm going old English, within and without, inside the cup, outside the cup, the yin yang, right? That what's with inside and outside. So God is with me. It is well, regardless of my season of circumstance. That's great. What does my soul need? What does my inner person, my inner self need more than anything? To acknowledge the God witness, how it's showing itself. So that's very difficult. I'm going through a financial time and everything else. Yeah, but just look at how I remember when we were broke beyond broke. And I would bring home. I was working early shift at McDonald's. We tried to get food stamps and welfare, but we had a van, and DFAC said, unfortunately, your van is an asset because of the year and the mileage. It's too valuable for us to give you the food stamps. We were like, what in the world? The van only ran forwards part of the time because the transmission was broke, so it would go forward a mile or two, and then you'd have to put a little bit of transmission fluid in, go forward a mile or two, transmission fluid, and when the transmission fluid ran out, it would only run backwards. My dad took my sisters to school, went through the little school drop-off lane. I mean, there's 300 cars going around, drop the kids off, and the thing would only run backwards. Had to back out, move all the traffic and back out because it only ran one direction. Well, where was the transmission fluid? Well, that was 79 cents back then, and that 79 cents might have gone into the gas tank. I mean, it was a micro wilderness, but we were there. It was difficult financial times, but I was working at McDonald's, and I would be there 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. And when they would get the breakfast would close out at 10:30, they would leave it a few minutes just in case anybody came in, and the manager just completely said, box all this food up and send it home with Mike. Put it in the cooler and send it home with Mike. And I came home when there was no food. I came home with hotcakes and sausage and big breakfast and bacon, egg, and cheese. I came home with that food. What are you doing? What do you got to acknowledge the miracle? And then one time I wasn't working at McDonald's. We were completely broke. You know how you like when the electricity is off, but you got the gas on so you can heat up some water or whatever, or the gas is off, but the electricity's on. It was one of those situations, and we had nothing. And somehow, some way, we had baked potatoes, and we had little butter packets left over from the little McDonald's breakfast or whatever, and we put baked potatoes in the microwave because we couldn't cook on the gas stove, cooked those baked potatoes, had the little salt and pepper packets from the silverware, and had the most delicious baked potato dinner. What are you doing? You have to acknowledge the miracles in the middle of it. Or when there were no baked potatoes, what are we going to do tonight? Well, we might be able to go to CC's. It's $1.99 for CC's pizza per person. How many we got? We got enough to cover 5 people. Who's not going to eat tonight? And boom, there was a knock on the door, and a person said, I was at the store, and the Lord just told me as I was loading up everything you're putting in this cart. I was shopping for the week, put another one in the cart, and here's a duplicate of all the groceries. I don't know what you don't like. If you don't like something, give it back to me. But here it is. And man, it's pot roast, and it's steaks, and it's potatoes, and it's canned vegetables. I mean, so what do you was the wilderness awful? The wilderness was awful. But I don't want to give you proclamation to the wilderness. I want to give proclamation to the exploit of the Spirit. I know you're hearing me. I know you're catching what I'm saying. Acknowledging your miracles. Boy, let's move on. As we say in church, I'm preaching better than your emojiing, right? But I mean, this is how people of the Spirit move. They got problems, but when you sit down and talk to them, they'll tell you what's going on. And I'm not talking about this fake stuff. How you doing? I'm fine. I'm blessed, highly favored, blessed coming. I'm not saying. Well, people say, "How you doing, brother?" It's been tough. We're trying to figure this out, and we're facing this, and we don't know, landlord said this, but he might do this and that. But you know what? God's got us. Just the other day we had a thing and came through. What are you doing? I mean, I'll tell you what's going on, but I'm not going to put all of my praise, right? I'm not going to acknowledge all the exploits of the trial. I'm going to acknowledge the faithfulness of God. Let's move on here. That was number 12. Let's move on to 13. I want to show you a scripture now in Genesis 41. You can look it up if you're not going to lose the window that you're watching here, or maybe you got your Bible by your side, or you're watching on your laptop and you're looking on your phone or whatever. Now, if you're driving, don't look up anything. Just listen to what I'm saying. So I told you in number 11, Joseph learned 2 things. The eighth thing that he learned was the jurisdiction of the Spirit is everywhere. People that I was told, Muslims don't have God, Jews don't have God, prostitutes don't have God, strippers don't have God, drug users and drug dealers and folks with need, they don't have God. And you find out that's so stupid. If you keep yourself non-weaponized, you're going to find out there are Democrats with God, Republicans with God, left-leaning with God, right-leaning with God, centrists with God, atheists with God, Pentecostal people with God, devout Mormons with God, devout Jehovah's Witness, backslidden Scientologists with the jurisdiction of people of the Spirit goes past all labels if you're not weaponized. And Joseph learned that. The second thing Joseph learned is this. He learned that that the exploits of the Spirit were not in him. This is going to take some articulation. He learned the exploits of the Spirit were not in him. What do you mean not in him? He just talked about God within. Hear what I'm saying. Genesis. I read now from Genesis 41. And I'm going to just read, so you know the story. Pharaoh has had a dream. Joseph is doing his bid. He's locked up. He's helping some guys inside. One of the guys gets, the death penalty. The other guy gets out, gets his job back, finds out it was all, false charges and blah, blah, blah. And Joseph tells the guy, hey, go, when you get back to working with the king, tell him I'm down here and that I've been falsely accused. And the baker and the candlesticks make like, I got you, bro. I'm not going to forget you after all you did for me. And of course he forgets about him. But that was even a thing. Learning not to try to rely on his manipulation, but to trust that God is working things on his behalf. But now Pharaoh has a dream, and all the king's horses and all the king's men, all the magicians, all the wise people can't fix it. And then the dude's like, man, I was up the road with a guy. I forgot all about it. I sat in with his cat, and he's real good at this. We should find him. The king's like, have I killed him? I don't think so. Good night, good work. Most likely kill you in the morning. He says, let's go find him. So they come and knock on the door, and Joseph wakes up thinking it's a day like any other day, but it's not. It's the day finally that he's stepping out of, cross that threshold, out of that wilderness into the next season. So verse 14, Genesis 41:14. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon. Get up, man, get up. The king wants you. And he shaved himself. I mean, he's just all scraggly, get presentable. And he changed his clothes. They gave him nice clothes, right? And he came into Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, Genesis 41:15, and there is none that can interpret it. But I've heard about you. I've heard that you can understand a dream to interpret it. Verse 16 is where we're focusing on. Verse 16 says this, and Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, it is not in me. God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. It is not in me. The supernatural thing you're asking me to do, the supernatural thing that you've seen me do, the supernatural thing that I have a reputation of doing, that exploit of the Spirit, don't be confused. The Pharaoh says, oh, Joseph, I heard you can do this. Joseph says, it's not something I do. It's something that comes out of my God witness. Very important thing. Joseph learns first, man, people of the Spirit are everywhere, even where I was told they wouldn't be, especially in places I told they wouldn't be. But what does Joseph also learn? He learns to say that the thing that you need from me, yes, I am the vessel of it, but it's not in me. It's not of me. Maybe that's better. It's in me. It's not of me. I like that. Thank you, Lord. Joseph learned it wasn't in him. Yes, it's who he was. He was this supernatural person. Yes, it's who he became, a spiritual father to the most powerful ruler in the world. I mean, that's the beauty of the story. So in one sense, it was 100% him that was this supernatural guy. And in the other sense, it wasn't him at all. People of the Spirit have to learn to ride that rail. What? Who am I? A person whom God is with. We talked about our identity. Who am I? A person who's beloved of God. Who am I? A person who, regardless of the season or the circumstance, has God with them, and it as well. That's great. So I hear you're a supernatural person. I hear you're a person of the Spirit. And we're shifting gears now. So we've gone through the first 11.5. We transitioned through 12 about acknowledging your miracle, and now we're on another track. We're circling up this school of the Spirit. The next part is, it's not in you. It's not in me. Somebody say, oh, Pastor Mike, you got to get up and preach. Or the kids say, Dad, talk to so-and-so. You're so good at helping people. I know what you mean there, but what you really see is, what you're really looking at is something that is in me, but it's not of me. And that if I ever do anything good, if I ever preach good or talk good or help good or sing good or whatever, if I ever parent good, it's in me. It's not of me. It is who I am, but it's not me at all. It's not me at all, but it's 100% who I am. In your notes, people of the Spirit know. People of the Spirit know how to manage, appreciate, and embrace the messiness of this tension. What's the messiness of the tension? On one side, it's not me. On the other side, it's 100% me. It's 100% me, but it's not me. I am a supernatural person. I live a supernatural life. I am a person of the Spirit. It is me, but it's not of me. People of the Spirit know how to manage. I got to keep that tension going. There's a messy tension here. So is it you or not? What do you mean? We're inviting you in to speak at our conference. Well, you're anointed. Well, it's not me. Well, when you show up here, is God going to show up, or are we just going to be looking at a dude? I don't know, but I'll tell you this. It is me that you're inviting, and I am anointed to talk to your people. And I, but when you see me do what I do, it's, man, that guy. And this is even in secular places. Connie and I, when we were doing consulting for corporations, big Fortune 50 corporations, Fortune 50, heard of the Fortune 500? That's the top 500. Fortune 100, we were in the Fortune 50. We were in like the Fortune 30, advising CEOs, and they would bring us in, and they would have conferences all the time. We would do huge things, and come in, everybody would tell, now look, just don't try to be funny. This is a boring session. People don't want to hear it. The keynote speaker never does well. We're just going to pay you. Just do your thing. And man, by the time it was over, people were coming up, hugging, tearing. People that had heard all the speeches before, always sat out front managing the information tables. They start coming in the back door. What is this? Somebody say, were you talking about God? Not even allowed to mention God in these corporate spaces. They said, don't bring your Christian stuff in here. Just come in and encourage and pour into these people, advise these people, train these people, expand the minds of our people, and so teach these relationships. Okay, I can do that. Okay. Well, how are you going to do that without naming the name of Jesus? Well, that was in an old lifetime anyway. I don't even think in those same ways anymore. But when you got there, what did you do? It was people say, man, I've never heard anything about that. What is it about you? The way you talk. I never listen to the speakers, but the way you did something. What are you? What do you do? Wait, and they don't have in my thing, he's the pastor of a church. You have to hide all of that stuff. But when there's something in you, what do they do? You're really special. No. Look, it is me, but it is not of me. People of the Spirit know how to manage, appreciate, embrace the messiness of this tension. Well, I'm confused. I'll tell you this. I was talking to my pastor one time about nervousness, my spiritual dad. And he said, do you know, Mike, I was back getting ready to speak at a conference or whatever, and I don't know, there's like 5,000 people there, and I'm not really supposed to be there because everybody just thinks I'm a kid and blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, and sometimes I get nervous. I know we're not supposed to be afraid. He goes, oh, no. He said, nervousness and fear are not the same thing. He says, I still get nervous. I said, you still get nervous? He said, Mike, when I step out on a pulpit, my own pulpit or a pulpit somewhere else, he said, I still get nervous. He said, that tension of nervousness, it forces you to rely on something beyond yourself. It forces you to turn to something and say, okay, God, I need some help here. Woe be to the person that's getting ready to do the great thing that they do, the graced thing that they do, the internal gifted thing that they do, that goes and says, I got this. I teach my children. Before you go on that stage and you say, well, I'm going to go do my play. Before you go take some photos, before you step into that director's meeting, I say to them all the time, say, Lord, I thank you for your help today. Help me do this today. God, I thank you that you helped me. God, I thank you that you got me. Before you get in the car and you drive, I'm a good driver. No, you said you are a good driver. You're trained by a good driver. You've been trained. You've read. You've studied. You've practiced. You've been trained by the best. And you're a conscientious person. You're a courteous person. You understand the value of life, your life and other people's lives. But don't get in the car without saying, God, help me. Don't do the audition without saying, Lord, I thank you for your help. I taught the kids, don't even get up and do your 10th grade presentation. I got to do a presentation on a person of history. Everything that you do, you acknowledge that it's not in me. Well, who's giving the presentation? I am, but if there's any good that comes out of it, it comes from somewhere else. People of the Spirit know how to manage this tension, right? Or they must learn it. Now, in your notes here, the beauty of this mindset of saying, I'm nervous, what do? I turn to God. Why? In your notes, the beauty of this is that the pressure of great doing never prevents you. The beauty of this is that the pressure of great doing never prevents you because you know the doing thereof is not in you to begin with. The beauty of this is that the pressure of great doing never prevents you. Again, I'm doing all these old English words. Prevents you, never stops you, never halts you. Well, I can't do that. That's a great doing. Well, when you understand that it's in you, not of you, that it is you, but not you, then the beauty of that is the pressure of the great doing. You're starting a film. You're going to edit. You're doing your next project. We're financing this ourselves. How are we going to ever get that done? Well, when you know that it's in you but not of you, that it is you but it's not you, that it's not you but it is you, when you manage that messiness, the beauty of that is, well, this is a big job. This is a great doing, a great undertaking. The beauty of centering yourself in is me but not me is that the pressure of doing great doesn't stop me from attempting great. Why? Because you know the doing of the great is not in you to begin with. My God, my God. I'm trying to teach you how to live in the Spirit. This is how you live in the Spirit. And there are people of all faith, no faith, all parties, no parties, all shades and stripes and faces and places that know this stuff. If you'll stay non-weaponized, you can open yourself to the beauty of this life. The beauty of this is that the pressure of great doing never stops us from great doing. Why? Because the doing of great things is not even in us to begin with. Why wouldn't I start to do it? It's not even me that would be doing it. Wow. The beauty of this is that the pressure is not there. In your notes now, the glory of having done. So the beauty is the pressure. I don't get into the pressure of, are you going to get up and talk in front of all those people? You're going to get up and start that thing? How do you get up and do that? Or how are you going to start that business? Or how are you going to go talk to this person who just lost a loved one? Or how are you going to be a friend here? Or how are we going to get through this financial? The great doing, is it a great doing? It's a huge doing. Well, it's not in me, but that takes the pressure off. Why? I can step into it now because it's not me that's got to bring it to pass. It's the greater one in me. So that's the beauty. Let's talk about the glory. So the glory of having done greatly is never a temptation to you. The glory of having, oh, you did greatly here. I'm not going to touch that glory. It's not even a temptation. The glory of having done greatly is never a temptation because you are thoroughly persuaded of your void. You're entirely and fully persuaded of your emptiness. Apart from your God witness. I'll give it to you again. The glory of having done greatly is never a temptation to you. Why? Because you are thoroughly persuaded of your emptiness apart from your God witness. You're void. That if I get up to talk and the Spirit within me does not get up to talk, then I'm just yapping. If I sit down in a counseling session and the Spirit within me is not flowing, then I'm just talking out of my head. If I set out in parenting or in husbanding or in love making or in neighboring, in helping, if I set out in any great doing and God is not with me, then I'm not going to do anything. So I never am tempted to take the glory for a great doing. Why? Because the glory of having done greatly is not a temptation. Because I'm thoroughly persuaded of my void, my emptiness apart from God witness. I'm just a dude talking unless God is there. You're just a woman who had children out of her womb. And I don't want to say ever just a woman. My God, women are amazing. Being a woman is amazing. Having children is amazing. Just being human is tough. It can be tough, further you go down the line, depending on who you are, where you are, whatever. I'm not trying to minimize just being a woman, just being a man. I'm just a man who had children and the sperm and the egg and blah, blah, blah. But if you say, God, I thank you that you're with me in my fatherhood, in my fathering, you're with me in my mothering, then the glory of having done greatly is not a temptation. Look at how great you're doing. I'm not going to touch that. Why? Because I'm aware that without the help of God, now there are a lot of people walking with the help of God that don't even realize it's the help of the Spirit that's doing it for them, because they've not been steeped in this idea. I have in my notes that the glory of having done greatly is not a temptation because you're persuaded. I have this in my notes because you're convicted, convinced. I'm convinced that if I ever tried to take the glory, I would know it would be a lie to take the glory. Why? Because I was so freaked out on the front end. God help me, I can't do this, I can't speak this, I can't start this, I can't get out and do this business, I don't know where the money's going to come from, I can't manage this schedule. All the time you're like, God help me, God help me, God help me. And then you do the great thing, and the first thing you think is, well, thank you, yeah, I pretty much saw. You won't take the glory of it if you remember your trepidation on the front end. I hope you're out there. I remember when we first started the church, I was so scared. We had all the founders, the 6 families or whatever that just started with us, which is a huge blessing. We had them park on the side so there could be room in front of the little building for other people to park. And I was in there getting ready and getting the mic on, and I was so nervous. Is anybody going to show up? Is anybody going to care? I've ruined my life. I made a mistake. I just want to go back to Atlanta. I don't want to be in Jacksonville. What have I done? This is dumb. And Connie's like, like on Airplane, trying to talk me down. And another founder's like, just freaking out. And Connie's like, Mike, there'll be people. It'll be great, honey. You're going to do fine. I'm like, I know, but we've just prayed for people to come. And she was looking out the window, out the blinds, and a person pulled in. It was like church was going to start in like 20 minutes. And she said, see, somebody just showed up. I was like, oh, thank you, God. Oh, my gosh. She said, oh, no, wait, they're turning around. It looks like they were lost. And they U-turned and left the parking lot. And I melted down. See, I told you nobody's coming. Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, we got it going, and it went great, and people's lives were changed. To this day, we started the church some 23 years ago, and to this day, people, they know the impact that season made in their lives. The echo of that labor of love still echoes in richness. And to God be the glory. But I remember being in that room, waiting, getting dressed for that first service, and I had this thought. Remember how much of a trembling reliance you have on God now. God, I just need your help. God, you have to help me talk to these people. God, you have to bring somebody in. I'm just so grateful. Remember how grateful you are that anybody showed up and that you had anything to say and that it had any impact? Yeah, keep that mindset now. Why? Because the glory of great doing won't be a temptation to you, because you already remember the voidness in your life. You're convicted and convinced of that voidness, of that vast, empty abyssness, right? Without God. That's how you walk the tightrope. Well, how are you going to tell somebody to come to church Sunday if you don't even know the Spirit will help you get through it? Well, that's the thing. I am who I am, which is what? I'm a maker-sensor of spiritual things. I'm a painter with words. I don't tell you what the spiritual things are. I paint a world that you stand in and you say, man, I never understood it like that before. I'm like Joseph. It's what I do. It's in me. It's just not of me. Now, still in Genesis 41 here, let's take this a little bit further. Outsiders are not going to understand this, right? Genesis 41, Joseph interprets the dream, and in verse 38, listen to how they talk about it. Verse 38, Pharaoh called his servants and said, where can we find a man like this? A man in whom the Spirit of God is. For as much as God has showed you all this, there is none so discreet and wise. Pharaoh doesn't understand articulate language of all Pharaoh knew was God is with this dude. But now listen to Daniel. I'll read this to you in two places. Daniel 4, and we'll look at Daniel 4 and Daniel 5 real quick. Let me get here. Ezekiel. Listen to this. Excuse me for a second. I've got this massive Bible. Someone said, why you got such a big Bible? So I can see it. Daniel 4, listen to verses 8 and 9. A king is in trouble, but listen to how they talk about Daniel. They don't know the churchy lingo. They only know what they see. Daniel 4, 8 and 9, and it says this. The magicians, verse 7, and astrologers and the Chaldeans, the soothsayers, they all were told the dream, but they did not make known the interpretation. All the king's horse and all the king's men couldn't do it. But listen to what they say in Daniel 4, verse 8. But at the last Daniel came in, his name was Belteshazzar, according to the name of my God, and inside Daniel is the spirit of the holy gods, and before him I told the dream. Again, the holy gods, the spirits of the holy gods are inside Daniel. I don't have the articulation, but I know there's something in you, right? But now listen to chapter 5, Daniel chapter 5, verse 11. Again, a same thing. The king is freaking out, and the queen is like, chill, dude, chill. Don't be troubled. There's a guy that works here that can help you. He lives inside the kingdom. What does he say? And listen how she describes Daniel. There is a man in thy kingdom in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. In the days of thy father, light was in him, understanding was in him, wisdom was in him. It was like he was one of the gods. Your father made him master of all the magicians, for as much as an excellent spirit was in him. Knowledge was in him, understanding. He could interpret dreams. He could show hard sentences. He could dissolve doubts were found in him. Just bring that dude in, and he'll be able to solve all of this. Notice again, outsiders don't understand what you're saying. What you're saying is God is with me, and that's why when I do my great doings, I don't touch the glory of them because I'm really not under that much pressure. I'm nervous, which makes me turn to God, and then I realize if God is with me, then what is this big doing? And when I do the big doing, and people say, oh my gosh, you're so great, I don't really pay attention to that. Why? Because they're saying God is in me, and I'm like God, and they never seen anything like it before. But I know the secret is it's in me, but it's not of me. Are you out there? Are you out there? Are you out there? Are you out there? I hope I'm trying to teach you how to walk with God. Listen, this is the stuff that I learned. I was telling you last week, as I walked out of weaponized religion and I look back over the million things I was taught, I've shed 950,000 of them because I'd say what I was taught and the way I was taught it in the context, the weaponized context that I was taught it in, I can't acknowledge it because it's based on a false idea of God punishing the world. It's based on a false idea of people needing their sins forgiven before God gets them. It's based on all these false ideas, but within the truth, but within the lies. But within the mistruths that I was taught, there are some enduring truths. And one of the enduring truths is that you find all throughout the Hebrew Scriptures, all throughout the Christian Scriptures, all throughout any places, in any religion where people talk about operating on that high plane, that higher flow of the Spirit, these are the truths, which is what? That the beauty is you won't be scared when you know it's not you. The power is that you won't take the glory because you know what you did didn't come from you. Natural glory, in your notes, natural glory, we're going to wrap this up, we got a little bit longer. Natural glory comes from natural operation. If you're just going to do things as a person and just do a thing, natural glory comes from natural operation. Natural glory comes from natural operation, going so far as to see the self as the lone source of hyper-capable function. Man, natural glory comes from natural operation. If you're just going to live as a natural person, say, I've got talents, I've got gifts, I'm really good at that. That's fine. You're going to get natural glory from that natural operation, and you'll go so far as to see your source of capable function. What do I mean by hyper-capable function? When you're good at what you do and people see you good at what you do and they go, my God, this person is awesome. This person paints or cooks or sews or cleans or serves or speaks or sings or teaches. I've never had a tutor like you. When people say, wow, the way you work with kids. Wow, the way people are drawn to you. Wow, the way you can talk people off the ledge. Wow, the way you can take the most irate customer. When they see you doing that, you may be tempted to go, well, yeah, I'm pretty awesome. Hyper-capable function, it's easy to fall into say, it's just what I do. And it might be just what you do. And it's okay if you say, it's kind of what I do. But as long as you know, wink, wink, nod, nod, it's kind of what you do, but it doesn't come from within you. So what do I want you to do? Here in your notes, you go down a little bit further. You can get this in your notes. It's down a little bit further. You may not have the luxury to explain this God witness, right? You may not have the luxury. You guys find it over there in the notes. You may not have the luxury to explain this in terms, in spiritual terms, to naturally minded people, right? You might not be able to say. People say, "My God, you were so good." I mean, when I'm in a Fortune 50 company and they say, "I've never heard anybody talk like that before," or when I'm in a place, a $14 billion a year company, and the keynote speaker, they say, "We have had these sessions for 21 years. No one has ever moved these people like that." I can't say, well, actually, in the book of Deuteronomy, I can't go to that. Why? They're not even not have the luxury to explain this in spiritual terms to naturally minded people. Why? It'll seem foolishness to them. I mean, they'll just say, my God, I've never heard anybody speak that. I can't tell I was moved. People come up to me and say, why are you not a politician? Why are you not a comedian? Why are you not a motivational speaker? Why are you not a preacher? All I did was give an address at a company just to talk about taking the company to the next level of effectiveness. That's all I did was do my thing. People say, what is it about you? There's something about you. Now, if you have somebody in the crowd that is of the Spirit, they'll come up to you. Yeah, I know what was going on there, and I can just point up to the ceiling, or people say, "Man, that was a really great job." And I say, "Well, brother, you know where the source is." Oh, okay, I see. I know what's happening there. People of the Spirit get it, but people who are naturally minded, you try to use spiritual vocabulary to explain it to them, they'll never get it. You may not have the luxury to explain this in spiritual terms to naturally minded people, but listen, in your notes, you may not have the luxury to explain this in spiritual terms to naturally minded people, but you must clearly understand the vocabulary within yourself. You may not have the luxury to explain this in spiritual terms to naturally minded people, but you must clearly understand this vocabulary within yourself. I might not be able to explain to the students at the school or the parents, I'm telling you, my kid has had trouble with math all his life, and he says, you're the best math teacher. He said he's never understood it. He said he's never even seen a teacher that knows how to relate to kids and make kids feel welcome and da-da-da. You may not be able to say, well, actually, ma'am, the Holy Spirit of God rests inside. You might not be able to say that, but you might not have the language to give it to them. You just have to understand it inside you. In your notes, and you must ongoingly devise language by which you can deflect and redirect praise and commendation for your ableness. I'll say it again. You must ongoingly, all the time you're trying to come up with words, you must ongoingly devise language by which you can deflect and redirect praise and commendation for your ableness. People will note your ableness. Both of my children are artists. People look at their art. People say, who is this? Who is this? This your son? This your daughter? Yeah. How do they know this young? How old are you? Where did this come from? You didn't do this. You didn't create this. They say, I did. People will comment on your ableness. And when you find people commenting on your ableness, you need to make note. You may not be able to explain to them where that ableness comes from. You better understand it, but you got to ongoingly devise language by which they can tell you how awesome you are. You got to learn to deflect that. They can tell you, oh my gosh, you're the best person we've ever had. You got to learn how to redirect that. Why? Because they're always commenting on and offering commendation and recognition and voice to your ableness. You got to learn how, not to believe your own hype. What are you trying to do? Somebody say, what am I supposed to do? Man, that was great. It was the best speaker we ever had. Oh, you're so kind. I don't even know how I did that, but oh my gosh, I just say a little prayer, help God somewhere. Or wow, that was so great. How do you do that? We've never had feedback from you and a math teacher and this and that. Oh, wow, that's so great. Honestly, I think I came from great teachers. You make a great opportunity here as a principal for people to be themselves. What are you doing? You're deflecting and redirecting. Now, right? Remember the whole, what was the thing that, cheer. What was the ancient Chinese secret? What was that? What was it? The ancient Chinese secret, We're not going to tell you how we get your clothes so clean, but we got a secret, I hope that's not racist or whatever. Anyway, it was a great commercial ad. What was it? It was the thing. Pop, you remember that? Ancient Chinese secret. How do you get the clothes so clean? And it was just, we know what detergent to use. So you might have ancient spiritual secret, which is what? People may not know where you came from. Who was it? I thought you looked it up. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I feel like on the podcast, they're always like, somebody look that up, and it appears in a second. They're probably editing it. But you just have to know the secret. And you may be able to say, Mr. Franklin, it's the best math program we've ever had. We're thinking about making you chair of the department here at the university because we've never seen students that, as a matter of fact, you've got the highest feedback of any class. Now, here it is. You know it is you, but you know it's not of you. What are you going to say? You might not be able to say in the halls of academia, well, the Holy Ghost comes on me and I pray, and you might not be able to say any of that. So how do you say it as a hairdresser? How do you say it? Hey, I pray over each client, and I just say, God, I thank you that your hands are over my hands, blah, blah, blah. People may not understand that. They may never come back to you again. If you feel a liberty to say the jurisdiction of the people of the Spirit are everywhere, they might be talking your same language. You might be talking to one of them. Even if they're not a part of your group, you may find they got just as much God. But you may also be in a place where you're seeing foolishness of, how do I do it? Say, oh, thank you so much. You know what? I had great teachers, and I think you know what it is? I think it's a lot of love. I think it's a lot of love that I put into it, and maybe that's what you're feeling. Or I always try to think, if I was sitting here trying to hear something, what would really encourage me? So maybe you're just hearing the love come through. And I've learned that language all the time. Boy, this is great food. It's made with love. Boy, thanks for helping out. Done with love. Man, thank you for writing that recommendation. Done with love. Why? Because done with love is actually code for done with God, right? God is love. We've got to move on. We've got to move on. Give me a second here. Yeah. You know what? Let's close it out. Let's just end right here. We'll just stop right here, because if somebody said, what's wrong? If I say the next thing, we're never getting out of it, and I don't want to take any longer. Amen. Just let's center it right there. So what are we going to do? In recap, we're going to recognize people of the Spirit are everywhere. We're gonna learn that. We're gonna learn in the middle of our wilderness that what our soul needs most, whatever's going on with you, is for you to acknowledge the miracle. God, help me see where the miracles are. I see the trial. I don't mind talking about the trial. I'm not going to be dishonest about the trial. I'm not going to pretend the trial doesn't exist, but I'm going to give the greatest proclamation to the workings of the Spirit. And then I'm going to recognize walking that tightrope of it is me, but it's not me. It's in me, but it's not of me. And I'm going to work on language, even when people say, you're awesome. What is that? What did I feel? I don't know what that is. I might not be able to say, well, actually, what that is, the presence of the Holy Spirit. You might not be able to say that. So what can you say? I do it with love. I think maybe that I put love into all my speeches. I put love into all my classes. One of the things I do, Miss Jackson, is I love the students, and I think maybe that's what parents are feeling because I really think of them, and you might be able to come up with language that's accessible for people that might not have the mind. And when you're out of weaponized religion, I got to tell them the truth. They're going to go to hell if they don't believe the right thing. Once you're free from all that nonsense and you recognize that God is already moving, it's not a matter of which individuals are in God or out of God. It's a matter of God doing something in the whole of creation and which individuals are waking up to it. And maybe the seed of your witness may now open and say, I've been here 25 years, and I'll tell you, I'm a person of prayer. I've been at this university, and I know this isn't really popular here, but every time I deal with a student or a class, I say, God, help me. And you believe in whatever God you want. I believe in God that brought the cosmos. I believe in that, and I just say, God, help me. When I have to go have a student that's having academic problems or a character problems, before I sit down with them and advise them, I say, Lord, just help me. God, help me with this student. Help love come through. God, let your presence be here. God, my words will fail, but if you help the hearer and the speaker, you might be able to open up one day and say what you're really doing. But you can't do that if you're trying to share love through a weaponized place. I'm just trying to get them on my side before God gets them and they go to hell. You got to shed all that weaponization, all that tribalization. Why? So that you don't quench the Spirit, but you can open up the flow. All these things, they seem like they're different points and steps. They're really all one, but we'll move into that next time. Okay, that's all we have for today. First and foremost, I will say, if this has been a blessing to you, if our church, if the teaching that I'm doing, you're saying, this has helped me, then I encourage you to be a blessing to us, right? I don't think that's wrong to ask. I don't think that's, I don't want to be asking people. No, I think if you feel like, that guy was a little bit of a blessing, well, be a little bit of a blessing to us. It would make a difference. As you can imagine, not a lot of open doors for people to hear the kind of things we're saying. You say, well, so if we blessed you a little, be a little. If we blessed you a lot, so people are so sweet. They say, hey, I'm sending in $5 just because I know you guys. I can't even imagine what it must be like to just wake up one day and say that the way you believe was wrong, and I can't imagine. But I want to let you know that I'm here, and it's not a lot, but you got to know you've been a huge blessing, and maybe one day the huge support I'm able to show. We're dealing with hard stuff. It means something to us. Your generosity is between you and God. You just have to know it's received with a grateful heart, and there's not a person. 500 or last week somebody gave 50 million. And it just blesses us. Someone says, I gave 50 million. Nobody gave 50 million. But the point is, if somebody gives $5 or $5 trillion, if you were blessed, if you say, this was good to me, consider returning that goodness and just saying, hey, I got you. I got you. Let me be a blessing to you. Let me buy a cup of coffee. Let me do something for your family. It means the world. But most importantly, our church, bigger than anything else in our church, thank you for I think it's fitting and proper if you're consuming wisdom to say, let me be a blessing to the vessel that's being a blessing to me. But beyond that, I want you to live charitably, right? This church is not about, we don't have doors and steeples. I'm in my little den, right? We don't have doors and steeples and building funds and snack crackers. Well, I want to do something to help children. I got to be at a part of the church to help. Do you know how many children there are in your city you can help? Do you know how many libraries? Do you know how many summer camps? Do you know how many special needs families? Do you know how many foster kids need help? Do you know how many places you can volunteer? How many children's hospitals? Do you want to help children? You don't have to come inside a church building to do that. Go be the church. Go be love in the earth. You don't have to go outside your door. Start at home, then away on your screen. Go out and embody love. If Christ is love, if God is love, and Christ was love embodied, and you are the body of Christ, somebody said, what does that mean? Does that mean I'm a Christian, I'm on the right team? No, it just means I'm going to be an ongoing vessel for God on the earth. Embody love, ease suffering, give to people, serve people, help people, listen to people, affirm people's dignity. Say, I see you. This is what we want for the church of. Out there where the suffering are. Out there where you as a human, living human, being human, seeing human, loving with the love of God. The people around you, that's true religion. building community in your thing among those who treasure human sympathy. I love loving people above, I'm sure my doctrine's right and yours is wrong. That is so. I don't care what doctrine you come from. I don't care if you come up the east side of the mountain, you come up the west side of the mountain. If the mountain you're traveling up is love, and if the summit you're heading towards is seeing people and loving people, it doesn't matter what God you name. There's only one God. The love that's at the core and the crust of the entire cosmos. It's the love that we feel. We've been in weaponized religion, and somehow we found love in that broken place. Somehow, Connie and I and many others have left that broken place, all those broken ideas. We can still go to any church, any mosque, any synagogue. We can still find it there. Why? Because love is in every religion. Love is in every non-religion. Love is in every place. It's on the street. It's in the boardroom. It's in the country club. It's in the trailer park, because people of the Spirit are everywhere. And there's a place to show love if you step out of the weaponized context. Go to that church. Be part of that church. Serve in that church, but don't buy the lies of the us-them false religion. You can be love and show love and build community anywhere when you let go of the certainty and open yourself to the largeness of love. That's all I got to say. Thank you for your support, but more importantly, thank you for going out. The very bottom thing is ask God to show you. God, show me how this day, this week, to go be in true religion, to ease suffering somewhere. That's what this church is about. I speak peace, health, protection, preservation, soundness, and joy on each of you. Your life is redeemed from destruction. Favors around you. Love flows to you and through you, and it drips off of you. And people ask, who are you? Where did it come from? And you know it's in you, but it's not of you. The love comes from God. The wisdom comes from God. The power, the grace, the capability, the ableness, the great doing comes from God. And you'll live seated in that place. And Connie and I love you. My family loves you. No matter the big wilderness or the small wilderness, wherever you are, may you be so certain and sensing God withness that regardless of your season or circumstance, your heart cries, it is well, and your soul says, thank you for acknowledging the miracle. I bless you, and I bless God for you. In Jesus' name. We'll be back here next Sunday. We're into July, if you can believe it or not. July 6th, I think that's the next one. It's the next TCO. So next Sunday, same bat time, same bat channel. Make it a great week. You are loved. In Jesus' name.